The film is framed by the current ecological crisis and notions around the Anthropocene. I had read an article quite a few years ago about these unexplained deaths of bats near wind turbines. Wind turbines are these highly designed objects that are indicative of human ingenuity. It was discovered that behind the blade of the turbine there's a pressure drop, and when the bats fly near there, their lungs explode. It's quite a startling image, quite a violent image, even in our well-intentioned gesture to introduce renewable energy as a move away from fossil fuels. Even that has these kind of unforeseen consequences and ripple effects that we could not foresee. The film changed quite a lot from its starting point and became more about scientific research itself and scientific experimentation and discovery, and the ways that people try to rationalize and understand the natural world around us. And so I guess the bat detector is a key emblem for this. It's the tool for perception that David Pye developed in order to hear this world that would otherwise remain inaudible and invisible to us. So the film takes on a documentary approach and is shot mostly on location in Scotland at sites of significant bat research and geological research, but it also encompasses this archival footage of a seminal experiment carried out by Donald Griffin and Robert Galambos around 1940, which basically proved that bats echolocate. So the film points to these specific moments of scientific discovery or revelation where human thinking or understanding of the world was sort of restructured. So Sticker Point, for instance, is basically the evidence for deep time, which was the first understanding that the world was going through these cycles of perpetual formation. And then again, our world was restructured through this discovery of Donald Griffin, and we finally understood how to see in the dark. My interest in geology and geological time is its inconceivable nature, and I have always found it fascinating when people are kind of handling these rock specimens and are talking about these kinds of time that are actually absolutely impossible to grasp. For a lot of my work, I research with people who are working in other disciplines or with other kinds of expertise. So with this film, I kind of entered the world of bat conservation and went on bat walks, which is where you go out at night with a bat detector. And I also went on a hibernation survey, which we filmed, which is basically checking where bats sleep. Many of the scenes are in darkness, so we're occupying the space of the bats, but it also speaks to these ideas of what we're able to perceive and what tools of perception are necessary for us to see these spaces or understand things better. Something I came across in my bat research is the evolutionary arms race between bats and moths. It became apparent that when bats appeared, insects had to develop ears in order to hear the bats echolocating so that they couldn't catch them. But now a countermeasure has been developed in bats where they have begun to whisper to get in under the radar of moths. And this was very interesting in relation to the kinds of technological advancement that happened in relation to bats' echolocation, so progress with sonar and radar during the Second World War and the necessity to evolve in order to survive. So sonar and our probing of the depths of the ocean is kind of an echo of bats' use of echolocation and how they perceive the world, which obviously evolved in them kind of 50 million years ago. The Jerwood FVU Award has given me the chance to work with a really amazing crew. So I was lucky enough to work with Jamie Quentrell as my DP and Pete Smith as my sound recordist. Obviously sound was very key, and it was amazing to have Pete kind of going off in all these spaces, including the Whiteley wind farm, which is the biggest onshore wind farm in the UK. Jamie and I scrambled down the side of a cliff to get down to Sticker Point to film this coastline. So there's been kind of a lot of adventures, and it's been really amazing to work with such a good team. Before I was making this film, I was reading Donna Haraway and Staying with the Trouble, and she has this term of more than human worlds, which is we're at a point now where we have to consider our position in relation to the natural world because we're having such a strong impact ecologically. Looking at the bat's strange and complex world gives us a way into thinking about the complexity of ecosystems and nature, which we can never really fully grasp. They exist in the darkness, so that's become sort of analogous for a mode of scientific discovery into a way of perceiving things in a different way. These kinds of scientific pursuits give us a greater understanding of the complexity of the natural world around us, and I think that evokes a sense of connectedness and perhaps even insignificance in relation to these sort of ecosystems that we are a part of. There's always these kind of move toward progress, like the wind turbine, but any kind of man-made action, I guess, has its own repercussions, and it's trying to be aware and understand those.